So at the beginning of 2016, several of us were objecting to a planning application to build houses immediately behind us here. And so we had the whole village was opposed to it. So I had a lot of email addresses for people in the village, and I used to circulate any news about the building plan. But in July 2016, we had a stall at Newton Carnival, and one of the residents came up and said, "Don't worry about the building anymore, that won't go ahead because HS2 is coming through," to which we were very surprised. And she said her father had had a letter just that morning to say, "Sorry, but might be a bit of inconvenience, but your house might be required for the HS2 line." So that was when we first heard about it, and it was something of a shock. Of course, the announcement was made in July because then everyone goes on holiday and everyone hopes that it's just going to go away. We moved then to December 2016 when the Parish Council had a couple of representatives from HS2 to their Parish Council meeting to give them a bit of detail.
Right, I'm Councillor Roger Poulter from Blackwell Parish Council. So we cover Newton, Hillcote, Blackwell and West Houses.
Right, when did you first hear about the HS2 coming through Newton and Old Blackwell?
I first heard about it when I saw a news report about the changes to the M18 corridor.
Yeah.
And when I was leafing through the information on that, I suddenly realised there was a spur line coming off the main HS2 line that affected our parish.
Yeah.
In fact, cuts our parish in half. So.
Right, was you notified officially from Derbyshire Council?
No, we first found out about it off the BBC News article. I did a bit more delving on the HS2 website and was shocked to find this spur line, which I didn't have a clue about. We knew a line was coming through Hillcote, going north, but that's when there was plans to have a station at Meadowhall, and putting the trains through to Sheffield put the need for the spur line in to connect the HS2 line up to the main line at Clay Cross.
Right. So when did Blackwell Parish Council get officially notified regarding the HS2?
HS2 never really officially notified us.
Right. Okay.
We found out that way first, which made sense that they had booked one of our community centres for an information event that had happened a few days before I found out about it, but they hadn't told us why they were booking the community centre.
Right.
We discovered the spur line off the websites and everything like that, and suddenly realised why we're getting a information event within our parish.
Right. Okay. Do you actually live in Newton or Blackwell, or?
I live in Blackwell.
We had heard that the Parish Council were going to meet with HS2, so I put out an email saying, inviting villagers to the Parish Council meeting because it was an open session, and several villagers went to the Parish Council meeting and expressed their shock at the plans.
Gail took us to the board, didn't she? And she explained
and
where it was coming through.
That is when
and
she
at that point, I walked out.
That is when she told Jeanette, this line is going to be 70 metres away from your house.
Right.
When we asked where it was going, she looked, she says, "What's your postcode?" Devonshire. She says, "Yeah, it's Devonshire Cottage." She looked on the map, which is a similar map to what we've had since.
Yeah.
And she said, "That's your house and it's going to be 70 metres. When she said 70 metres, we thought, oh, probably 70 metres from top of an embankment, because we realised there's going to be an embankment with a railway. We know there's going to be a... But no, I think what she meant was it's going to be 70 metres from centre at tracks.
From the centre.
That's what we took it as.
Okay.
And of course, after that, you...
Well, I walked out, didn't I?
She were in tears. You know,
and you stopped in and listened to what she got to say.
Listened.
and then we came in
and then we came home
we
and
just
we just couldn't believe it.
We just
Well, in shock, yeah. Right. When was you notified from HS2 regarding your property going to be knocked down?
Well, it'll be, I can't remember when it was now. It was must be about, it's a good 2 years since they first started.
Yeah.
And we went to be interviewed, and we've been to different places.
Yeah.
And they've interviewed us and told us what they can do for us and all that. But I kept saying, well, I don't want to move. But all they keep saying is, it'll be easy to get to these other places. Well, we don't want that. Well, there's no need for it. There's a good line down at Westhouses that goes across there. There's no need for anything to be altered.
No.
The railway's already there.
To knock down a number of houses in Newton for a spur line across to the Erywash line to give a slow line into Sheffield Midland, instead of what had been the plan, the main line going through to Sheffield Meadowhall. At that meeting, someone suggested that since I had all the email addresses for a large number of people, perhaps I could coordinate the HS2 Blackwell group. So, to explain, the group is basically a group of residents.
Yeah.
We don't have a chairman, we don't have a constitution, we just get together and we talk through our feelings about it, and we make our plans accordingly. We decided to call a village meeting, and we invited our MP to come along, Dennis Skinner, and he was very happy to do so, and he was absolutely bowled over because he had never seen so many people in a hall in Newton. There really was standing room only, and we made a presentation, 4 or 5 or 6 of us, of what we'd been able to find out from HS2, the routes, the roads that would be crossed, and so on. And following on from that, we attended HS2 engagement meetings, information meetings, so we got to know a little bit more, and we researched the subject quite heavily. When I say we, probably 8 to 10 people getting together and sharing information that they could find.
And is this still at same 8 to 10 now?
It's changed. We're probably now up to more like 25, okay. And some are able to attend all meetings, and others aren't. But that's the nature of it. In March 2017, Dennis had managed to get us a meeting with the Under Secretary of State at the time, who was Andrew Jones, and we went down to Westminster, and for an hour and a quarter we told him of our concerns, and he listened but made very little comment. But at that stage a consultation was taking place, so we again organised meetings in the community centre to help people with the consultations.
When was this?
Throughout the summer. I can't remember what the closing date was.
Throughout summer 2017.
Yeah, probably through to this time last year. Yeah, through to July. I can't remember exactly the date, but and we sent those consultations in. We collected the consultations so we could make a count of them, and then when the final route was announced in November, and the consultation had little or no impact whatsoever, we decided we'd continue our fight, because the whole project, apart from being a nonsensical route, we were now faced with a situation where our consultation was being misinterpreted, and we felt very badly done by. So we continued, and in January this year we decided we would have another open meeting to keep the villagers informed of what's happening, and this time, as well as Dennis, we also invited Anne Syrett, who's the leader of Bolsover District Council, and Simon Spencer, who is head of transport and highways for Derbyshire County Council. And they agreed to come, they came along, and again the hall was packed, standing room only, which demonstrated that the village was still very concerned about the impact of HS2.
Yeah.
We had we leaflet regularly around the village, particularly when there's a meeting coming up, so that everyone knows that it's going to happen. And we did the same then for the HS2 information event. HS2 are not really very adept at advising people when their meetings are going to be. Yeah, but
what's been quoted to me sometimes is that you seem to be given short notice of like a couple of weeks that it's going to take
sometimes you don't get notified at all.
Oh, okay.
We have shown, for example, along Crag Lane here, the meeting, there was an information meeting in November at the Newton Methodist Church. The residents at Devonshire Cottage on Crag Lane, they did not get a letter. So, to advise them of the meeting. So, we felt, right, well, if HS2 aren't very good at it, we can do it. So we print off 2,000 to 2,500 flyers, and we have a dozen volunteers who cover the whole parish. And we have some volunteers from Tibshelf and some from Morton too, who do their little few houses around them. So it's very much a combined effort.
So it's like grown since 2016. It's like grown along the way then, hasn't it?
Oh yes, yeah, because it's not going away, and we get reassurances at the HS2 information events.
Yeah.
But people see through them. It is nothing but a reassurance. There is no we take your they don't take it seriously enough to have an impact on the decision.
Yeah. The last meeting that was at Newton Methodist Church, how do you feel that HS2 brought across then? Because you was given maps and paperwork to cover it. Yeah,
at every event there have been maps out on the table and booklets and information provided.
Yeah.
And it was the same in March this year when we had the event in Newton. Security was heavier this year than the first year.
I was there myself.
You were,
so I was aware of the security there. Why they was there, I don't know.
Well, there's some information events, but never in Newton.
Yeah.
Some information events.
Has there ever been any trouble regarding any
Not in Newton. No, not in Blackwell. We're very civilised people. We listen.
Yeah.
We express our views.
Yeah.
And we show that we're angry, and we continue to be angry about this silly idea.
Yeah. Do you think it helped the situation? It did. Well, should I say it didn't help the situation because you pointed out about the amount of security was there. Do you think that caused a problem?
I don't think so, really. No, they're only doing the job, really. So they were not aggressive in any way. They were there in case there's any. They have to do that. There's.
Yeah, I suppose
there's
also
rules and
we don't know what
regulations.
takes place regarding other events, do we?
Exactly.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
Also, who's worked with you along the way regarding like Bolsover District Council, the people and Blackwell Parish Council?
Well, throughout last year, 2 or 3 of us have regularly attended Bolsover District Council meetings and Derbyshire County Council meetings where the public session, there's a public session of 20 minutes at the beginning of any meeting, and the public is allowed to ask a question. So we've ensured that at most meetings we've been there to ask a question, and so we've become known. And all the councillors throughout the district know that there is an issue in Blackwell about HS2. We've met with Simon Spencer at Derbyshire County Council last year, a couple of us, and he is open to our views. He doesn't hide away. He's open to our views. And we've met with Anne Syret at Bolsover, and Anne has now they've agreed that Clive Mosby, our local district councillor, he will be representing Anne on the mitigation board, the strategic board, which Simon Spencer chairs. So we've been in touch with. We're getting closer to the people who are in decision makings in county.
This last 4 years I've been again a twin hatter. I've been on Bolsover District Council and I've been on Derbyshire County Council, so they're again working together, and you know, as I said earlier, it does complement, each bit complements each other, and it gives you a wider view and I think a greater understanding of how the council works together, you know, to deliver the services to the people that we're trying to represent at the end of the day. Within all that, I suppose halfway through my term within Bolsover, so a couple of years back, that's when HS2 reared its head, and seeming to just be HS2 going what you might call by the top end of the area, they're representing Newton and into Tipshall, Sawpit and that way. The Sheffield seemed to want a station or wanted something out of it, and as a result of that, sadly, I think the spur came along where it separated from the main HS2 line at Pinkston and went up in through Hillcote, in through Newton, Blackwell, and joined up with the Erewash line somewhere sort of south of Clay Cross within it all. Obviously then, you know, there was a great deal of despondency, worry, upset and concern with residents in Newton. One of the main things was when they were started receiving letters, really not knowing too much about HS2, but receiving letters from solicitors wanting to represent them, you know, should HS2 spur go through in getting compensation for the properties or whatever, and that created quite a bit of alarm because it just dropped on the doorstep sort of thing. And I did get quite a few worries and concerns then at that. Obviously, as time's progressed, we have more information from HS2. There's been the HS2 Blackwell Residents Group set up, which has worked again closely with various other groups on the HS2 line, and indeed with people in Morton, to try and raise awareness of the implications and the problems that HS2 could well cause on the spur as it comes through these different villages. So with Tony Mellors and one or two other from the HS2 Blackwell Residents Group, I've tried to work as close alongside them as I could, basically trying to act as a conduit, trying to let them know the position where we're going, the different aspects that HS2 are feeding through to me, and I've tried to feed through to Tony and the group in order so that they can have some of their questions answered, and some more information, probably more detailed information than they may well get through any other means in it all. I think that's worked quite well. There has been a couple or three meetings in Newton Community Centre where 200 to 300 people plus have turned up. Speakers there have been Dennis Skinner, obviously the local MP, the cabinet member for Highways and Transport, that's Simon Spencer from Derbyshire County Council, and Sarah, who's the leader of Bolsover District Council, and myself, and that have sort of put in our bits and tried to see where we are, how we can help, and how we can push forward anything that we can to try and, if not stop it, initially stop the spare obviously, but if we can't, to get the best mitigation or to get the best deal for the people within the affected areas that we possibly can.
There's been one meeting so far that Clive's attended, and it's a discussion between HS2, between various councils in the East Midlands, and it seems to be growing and becoming a bit unwieldy. Is my perhaps Clive could give you a better feedback on that.
Right. Okay. So
One of the difficulties we have, and I don't
Yeah.
know how much of this you can
yeah.
you can include,
Yeah.
but we're not a political body in any way.
No.
We have a very outspoken Labour Member of Parliament.
Yeah.
We have a Labour District Council. We have
Yeah.
a Conservative County Council.
Yeah.
We are not political in any way. There is, and I pointed this out to the Minister last week.
Yeah.
This is the first thing that everyone has to remember.
Yeah.
We're not political. We
Yeah.
have a variety of political leanings individually.
Yeah.
We have Brexiteers and we have non-Brexiteers, Remainers in our group, and even in our working group too. So it's important. We recognise that we have Labour in district, Conservative at county,
Yeah.
and an MP who is Labour, but he's probably the most outspoken on any subject anyway, so we don't feel that's a problem.
No. Well, I've noticed, obviously, you don't call yourself Stop HS2.
No.
You call yourself the Blackwell Group.
We're HS2 Blackwell Group,
yeah.
And our main concern is the spur line.
Yeah.
In 2013, when they announced the main line up to Leeds, it caused very little excitement in the village, to be quite honest, because it was going to be the other side of the motorway. We were told that it was going to bring economic benefits to the north. There was going to be a station to serve Sheffield and South Yorkshire at Meadow Hall, and there was little opposition. It was when Sheffield Meadow Hall plan was cancelled,
Yeah.
and in its place a slow line through the middle of our village to the Erywash line
Yeah.
to go into Midland Station at Sheffield,
Yeah.
which Dennis Skinner describes as a dawdle through Derbyshire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't give Sheffield or South Yorkshire an economic benefit.
No.
It's a nonsense.
Also, is it okay later on if you can show us the area in Newton
Yeah.
and Old Blackwell where the proposal is where the line's going to go?
By all
Is
means,
that
yeah.
okay?
It has an impact. It has an impact on the whole parish.
Yeah.
Newton is the most affected,
Yeah.
but if you look at Hillcote is going to have some huge embankments,
Yeah.
changing the landscape completely. A big viaduct over the Normanton Brook down at Hillcote, and then when it comes up and through Old Blackwell, 2 or 3 really important heritage buildings are going to go
Yeah.
on this plan. The old Thack, where we've enjoyed a pint in the past, Boucher House, and there's an old cottage there, old farm cottage, that must be, I don't know, 17th century, something like
Yeah,
that.
it is, yeah.
And then it's running at the side, so those 2 certainly are due for demolition, possibly the 3rd. It then runs at the side of Devonshire Cottage, which is another heritage building, and then across to Alfreton Road, where by my calculation 20 to 22 houses will be required to be demolished. So this is Alfreton Road, Newton, and here you can see the blighted zone, which stretches from just behind the camera through to the car facing us just besides what we know locally as the trotting field. The centre of the line is round about the purple fence, about 100 yards from here. On the right hand side of Alfreton Road from the second telegraph pole through to the house at the side of us, and that's the extent of the blighted zone. 20 homes in number to build a cut and cover tunnel. So where the track comes through, the track itself will be about 19 metres wide. But because it's cut and cover, it will have to be a lot more earth will have to be taken out so that a tunnel can be constructed, like a bridge being built. And then, so where HS2 are telling us there are 4 homes, that's 4 homes in the centre, in the width of that 19-metre track. They're not counting those houses which will need to be demolished for the battering back of the sides of the tunnel. At the same time, they are assuring us that the road will be kept open, and how exactly they construct that is a little uncertain, but they're claiming that the road will remain open while they build a cut and cover tunnel. The only way that I can see that that could be done is by knocking more houses down, so maybe the 20 houses which are in the blighted zone. Now, it was more than that at this time last year.
Yeah, how many was it?
Because in total I'd said, I think 32 for the parish.
Yeah.
That was 2 in Old Blackwell and 20 in Newton. Some of those were the new houses which were not on the map when HS2 planned the route. So we're now stood on the Newton Fields estate, looking across to Craig Lane and Devonshire Cottage in the distance. The original railway line from 100 and odd years ago runs where the line of trees you can see here on the left hand side. HS2 follows the original railway track, but then starts to come straight alongside the new housing. The Newton Fields estate, or this section of it, was not on the original map that HS2 used, and so when they decided to construct the cut and cover tunnel on Alfreton Road, they were unaware that these properties were being built.
Right. So what's happened to them houses? Have they not been built? Have they?
The latest plan from HS2, that the houses are built.
Yeah.
And they're bought by HS2 and they're being rented out. But to protect them, instead a piled wall is being built rather than a full cutting.
Right.
Had it been a full cutting, the line would have been either required the houses to be demolished, or it would have been so close that no one would want to live there.
So they're putting. So how many houses were due to be knocked down on this new estate then before they suggested?
I think it's 10.
10 houses.
Yep. It's 2 in Old Blackwell,
Yeah.
10 on the new estate, and 20 on Alfreton Road. Those 20 are still in line, in my opinion, to be demolished.
Right. Just over a week ago, on the 23rd, you went down to Parliament to see Chris Grayling's assistant.
Yeah.
Is there anything you could tell us about how you made
Yeah,
it go? I know you said you'd only got 45 minutes
Yeah.
to put the questions in.
Yeah, we had a meeting with Nusrat Ghani on Monday morning, 9:45. So we had an early start from Newton. Four of us went down from Newton, and we met her in her office in the Department for Transport. She had 3 HS2, 3 DFT people with her, and her secretary. And we were 4, plus Dennis Skinner was also with us.
Yeah.
And we put our questions, we had submitted questions ahead to give us some idea of what we were talking about, but when we went, we also gave her some photographs. We showed her where the line was coming through, where the houses were due to be demolished, and we pointed out we were not political, and that we were angry, and I think she recognised that we were angry.
Yeah.
At the end of the meeting, Dennis said to us, well, it was good, you were not deferential. Well, we certainly weren't deferential. We put our points strongly, to the extent where she must have seen we knew what we were talking about. We pointed out the inequalities, we pointed out that a route, an alternative route that had been put forward by District Council, County Council and Parish Council had been rejected out of hand by HS2,
Yeah.
by email.
Yeah.
And we pointed out that we had a lot of information from Freedom of Information requests. And we showed her photographs of houses where the valuation had been given and was undervaluing a property significantly. She passed these to her advisors and said that they would investigate and give us some replies.
Right. The 5 questions, I'm not going to ask what the 5 questions was.
Yeah.
All I'll say to you, the 5 questions that you gave in advance,
Yeah.
were they answered in the meeting?
Yes, we asked her would she accept an invitation to come to Blackwell and
Yeah.
talk to the people that are impacted, because at the moment we think she's being given one story by HS2 Ltd and not being told what's actually happening on the ground.
Right.
She didn't accept that invitation. We then asked her questions about valuations
Yeah.
of properties where people are blighted and being encouraged to move out,
Yeah.
and we pointed out the unfairness of that. She did say that nobody should be worse off from HS2. We have that quote and we will remember it. We also asked her whether she was open to an alternative route which would save the demolition of 22 houses in Blackwell Parish. She didn't answer that really, but she took the points on board, and I hope she will come back to us on that. And we asked her about the environment, because the Environment Minister, Mr. Gove, has suggested that perhaps HS2 is not a very sensible project to be going ahead with. Of course, he might just be trying to become Prime Minister, so who knows. And we also asked whether the cost of the project, escalating to possibly 120 billion, whether that was realistic. One of our group specifically asked her, he said that Chris Grayling had been reported as saying that it will cost what it costs. On the other hand, there is a budget of £57 billion. So we asked, which is it? Is it £57 billion or is it an open chequebook? She said it is not an open chequebook, it is £57 billion. The line is that they are working to that budget and will achieve everything within that budget. But all the expert information that seems to be being leaked out is that that's far from true.